Call on the member of government to open the second part.
So let's burn down Rome in one day, so we can build a better Rome in the future. Good evening, members of the House. So this is exactly what we are going to do with this anarchy for one day. And we are taking the line of also building the justice system, but by a drastic example, and then also all the good that is coming from this anarchy for one day. But before I get to that, just a few points of independent rebuttal. So we heard that it's bad that all these people are getting killed in one day and stuff like that, and the world's going to burn and there's going to be nuclear war and all that slippery slope stuff we heard from opposition. But it's not really such a bad thing if you think about it. As Darwin said, the point of evolution is survival of the fittest. I need to be the fittest to survive in this day of anarchy. And if we have the fittest people mentally and physically, we can build a better future for them. And we see also that justice and revenge is becoming the same thing. Because if my daughter was raped on this day, I can take justice into my own hands in the next day of this anarchy and not leave it to people who can't do their job. I will accept.
Does this not prove the statement that we are creating criminals?
We are creating criminals for a day, but most people in the world have a little bit of common sense to know that I have this day for 24 hours for the rest of the year. I need to be a good and honest citizen. And this brings me to my second point of rebuttal. Bigger crime sprees, which they told us is going to happen because if I steal a bread today, I'm going to steal a bread for the rest of the year. And just on this point of, most people in this world have common sense to think that I've got this 24 hours to do my crime, which I want to do, and then it's over. Yes, we have the psychopath and that, and that, and that, but that's the minority. The most people in the world, or the most people who commit crime, is petty criminals, which will use this day to their advantage and not the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And then terrorists taking over and putting thousands of terrorists in a plane and going to America and destroying America in 24 hours. Practically impossible. Further, the terrorist is going to expose themselves because they don't care, because they can do this for this one day. And we have the rest of the year to combat terrorists so that this doesn't happen. And he finished with, how long is it going to be till this is not a daily thing but a yearly thing? But this links into my first argument. We need a drastic example to show people that anarchy is not good and crime is not good. So this is such a drastic example that we will have the common sense to think that we can't do this for a whole year long. No, thank you. So let's get to my first argument. Building justice through a drastic example. And I first want to just quickly go to the Hiroshima and Nagasaki atom of nuclear bombing. So what happened there? America came with their plane, dropped a bomb on those two cities in Japan. Everything was wiped out, as well as World War II. And we haven't seen a nuclear war since then. So what am I doing with this example I just gave you? This is an example of drastic measures that we saw is so detrimental to society that we decided to get a UN, that we decided that we are not going to do nuclear war again, and that we decided that if someone just threatens with nuclear warfare, we will stop them in their tracks before they can do that. Now, how do I link this in?
For further information.
Yes.
So why does every country in the world then have nuclear missiles?
they have nuclear missiles, but do they use them? That is the question. So this day of anarchy is setting an example for us of how bad it is if everyone just does what they want, just do what they want to. We are setting an example to the public out there that if we just do what we want to, if we don't have the justice system, if there's no police and no courts or anything, what the world will come to. And that's why we say, as closing out, that we need this drastic example every year to show the general public, to show the general public how detrimental a day of anarchy can be, so that we can be better citizens and have a better justice system right through the year, just by taking one day in a year and showing them how detrimental a day of anarchy can be. No, thank you. And that will bring me then to my second point. And you are going to think this is not going to happen, but just listen to me and say why it's, and see why it is going to happen. We are going to have a decrease in crime. Why am I saying this? Because, like I said in my rebuttal, the minority is like people who do crime for a living, but the majority is petty criminals who steals a bread or steals some money. Now, if we give them this day, they can do this crime. They get this fixed out of their system, and we see a decrease in crime right through the year, because we give criminals the opportunity to commit crime so they don't have to do this for the rest of the year. Giving also then the police more control over crime, because now we're putting aside the small criminals so that the police can concentrate on the bigger criminals out there. So then my last argument, less overpopulated jails. This links to my second argument. We see that now that there's less crime, we have less criminals, so we don't have overpopulated jails, which is a problem at the moment, because you see just the other day, thousands of criminals was let out of Zimbabwean jails because their jails are too full. So this is a problem we are also addressing with the day of anarchy. And for that reason, we are very proud to burn down Rome in one day.
Thank you very much to the member of government. We now call on the member of opposition.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. To the previous speaker, you said that the purges will automatically decrease crime. It has been happening over the years that crime has been increasing instead of decreasing. So how do you in one day be able to decrease crime? That cannot happen, but it is increasing further. Okay, to our arguments, how does allowing the purges, what do we say about rational thinking? What do we say about rational behavior? What do we say about rational actions? Definitely, this decreases our value of human dignity. The purges being allowed in 24 hours, this will automatically lead to the consequences of the purges will continue going forward. The victims of such actions will automatically go through trauma. And how do we deal with this on a daily basis? Automatically, again, the effect of the day will also lead to devastation to the victims. Going to our next argument, with relation to responsibility. Why don't we kill now with the law in place? Why don't we rape now with the law in place? We don't, because we know that we will be held accountable for our actions.
For shame.
Now, automatically on this day, there will be lack of rational thinking, responsible thinking, and automatically people will go out there to act and do all these things knowing that they will not be held accountable and responsible for their actions. Allowing the purge for a day or for 24 hours this will lead to irreversible actions. Imagine how do you live with yourself knowing that you have killed someone, you have raped someone, you have been raped, your family was killed on this very same day. How do we go on to justify such an act? No. Another thing, continuation of breaking the law after 24 hours, this will automatically happen. And then allowing the purge to take place in one day, this means that we will be treating the symptom instead of treating the root cause of the main problem.
A point, sir.
Okay.
So if you're so appalled by having to kill someone in order to survive yourself, there's the option of living in an underground bunker for the day and preparing yourself for the next year's purge. Why is that an option that's not available to someone that finds it so apparent to kill? So if you don't want to kill someone,
Yes.
then you can hide in an underground bunker for the day of the purge, and you can re-emerge when the purge is over. Why is that not an option that's available to them?
It cannot be an option. One of the speakers mentioned that you will have to go out there and defend yourself. But now, at the end of the day, this does not justify allowing the purge to happen. How?
So make them. Explain them to me. Just give me like a summary. No, now. Everyone's waiting to hear. You have like a last minute to convince us of something. Summarize your arguments. Tell us what it was that you said. If you have to convince these adjudicators in 1 minute why it is that you deserve to win. No, yes, trial by fire. Tell me, Nifa, why is it so bad? Like you just said, that it's so bad and terrible for people to kill other people. Why is that a bad thing?
Because it's acting out of human.
Relax.
You're good, you're just chilling.
Now call on the government whip to close up government's case for us.
Brothers, sisters, comrades, I greet you this way because we still believe in humanity. We still believe in righteousness. And for this reason, we truly believe in the purge. Some would say it's crazy, but we say what crazy is. It's crazy that crime still grows and never stops. How can we stop this? Firstly, I want to inform everyone that we are not going to take away security. We are not going to make security legal. We're not going to make the way you defend yourself illegal. That's not anything we are saying. We are saying we are taking away any consequences for your actions. But the opposition says, okay, well, everybody's going to die and some people is going to die, but you still have the chance to defend yourself. They spoke about someone everybody's going to target the rich people, but the rich people have money to hire people to defend them. So we don't want to hammer on the point that, okay, nobody can defend themselves and everybody's going to die. We still have to see that there is some sort of type of security. Okay, and secondly, the purge won't automatically go on, and good people won't automatically just become criminals, because criminals aren't born overnight. Criminals are criminals from way back. They don't just become criminals overnight. Okay, so that's my first point of argument. We want to make, this is building the justice system. We want to make an example of these people. We are all this a day. We want to show the people, because people do not agree with the parliament. They don't agree with the rules of the parliament. Some of the things that the parliament does, people say, okay, we're not going to stand for this because it's not right. Now, we are going to give them 1 day. We're going to show them, okay, everything is for you. What you want, there it is. This is why it doesn't work. Because we give you example through this day. We show them, if you're going to do crimes the whole time, we are going to make example and show what will happen if you do this. Let's take an example. World War I, it happened, okay, yes. It was a huge disaster, but nobody learned from it. So World War II happened. And then the United Nations came together and said, enough is enough. Okay, so they said, this World War I, this World War II can't happen again. This World War I and World War II was how many years out of, from each other? So when the United Nations came and said, okay, look people, if you do this, this is what happens. And the people stopped. This is what we want. We want the people to stop. No, thank you, sir. Okay, so we just want to prepare people for what their actions are going to be like. Because some people don't think rationally, yes, we agree. But if we show them, okay, this is what happens when you do this, they're going to think twice before they do something else. So, what we're trying to say is rules are not made up. Not at all. We want to show them people have to learn from their mistakes.
Observation.
Yes, sir.
Nobody's actually touched on the subject. I spoke about the scars that are left on people. Please elaborate on that.
The scars that are left on people. Okay, there are scars left on people, but there's 364 other days that there is going to be crime. There's going to be scars there as well. This is one day. This doesn't mean you're going on like the other days are like without crime. But this is not how it is going to be. Okay, so we just want to prevent the crimes by setting an example in one day out of the 365 days of the year. Okay, now the other thing, the control of the police. No, thank you, sir. Okay, now the control of the police. People with chaos within them. This will happen. People have chaos within them. Yes, that's true. But we give this one day to get it out. Okay, so these people doesn't get chaos from, okay, we give you one day, now I'm going to be an idiot and just let loose. No, it's fucked up, people. We want to say, people want to overcome this stuff. And people, this petty crimes, people, there's other people with the moral values and all that stuff. They just have a petty crime, steal one thing, do other things. Some people are going to be with their families. It's not everybody's going to kill everybody. Some people actually, I know it's hard to believe, but some people actually have moral values. So some people, no thank you sir, no thank you sir. People have moral values and they are still going to believe in it. So this is not automatically going to go on. Okay, now what's the control of the police? Okay, so the control of the police. This petty crimes is quick to resolve, but the police waste their time to spend their attention on it. We want to get this petty crimes and all this crap out of the system. Example, if you are angry, you go hit a punching bag, then you will feel better. This is the same principle, people. We want to give them this one day so the police doesn't have to waste the rest of the year on petty crimes. Well, they want to go, and then we have more time. No thank you, no thank you. They have more time then, more time to take control of the bigger crimes, the bigger picture, the bigger picture of crimes and terrorists and all that stuff. They have time to concentrate on that and not this shitty stuff we are speaking about of stealing one thing. Okay, so these people that does all these larger crimes and the terrorists that they name and all this stuff, they don't care a fuck about the repercussions they are going to have. They don't care. Of 9/11, do you think the people that hit the Twin Towers care about the repercussions? So this will go on. This one day won't make it any different. They don't believe in the law. So, yes, we say, yes, they don't believe in the law. But then we get time to concentrate on that. Now, the more space in jail, like we said, this criminals, there are too much criminals. There are too much criminals in the jail, but we want to, and the government wants to let them go. Let's stop this. Let's stop the bigger criminals get out of jail, and with all these petty criminals that have to take their space, and leave them there. Because what would you prefer? A rapist on the... Would you prefer a rapist on the streets, or some anarchist that quickly breaks a window? What would you prefer on the streets? Now for my conclusion. Members of the House, this might be one day of crime, and it might not be. They make humans sound like animals, but some have moral values. But this is a way to give an example, a way to show them why the rules are set there. We want to lead by example. We are looking at the future. We are looking at the bigger picture. For this crime that grows continuously and nothing happens against it. This one day, out of the 364 other days, we just want to give them this one day to prevent these other days to become more and worse. We love this world, but this growing crime has to get an end. Give one day for us to lead by example. Thank you.
Ja, ek het weer gehoor, hè.
Madam Speaker, members of the House, on the side of government, we get an argumentation that's one-sided and one-minded. That is simply one day. And then we get the violence saying on the side of open government that this is going to change crime, this is going to change. And we hear from closing government that all of a sudden this is one day of letting out. One day doing what you want, getting all your anger out, like taking a bag and punching it, relieving stress. The violence within government, we'll get to that. First, a few points of independent rebuttal to closing government. We hear this whole, you will think twice before you commit a crime. But then we hear the same speaker telling us that a criminal isn't born overnight. A criminal, within its nature, is a creation that's been created over a duration of time. The same argument kills the whole argument of government, that all of a sudden, if we allow one day of total chaos, we will suddenly have a decrease in crime. No, we won't. For the simple reason, as the closing government stated to us, a criminal isn't created overnight. And the same counts for a criminal can't be changed overnight. The second point of rebuttal is this: we have this World War argument from closing government all the time. The irrelevance of Nagasaki and Hiroshima and World War I and World War II is, if they want to use that as an example, that World War II all of a sudden helped us to not have any wars anymore. We still have the Iraqi war. We have Russia currently. We have a continuous war progression in the world. Wars hasn't stopped. So, for their example, World War II wasn't that effective. Third point is this. That was okay. The one day of letting out. So we have the violence within government. First of all, we want to use this day to change people's mindsets concerning crime. We want to show you how bad it is, and then all of a sudden, everybody's going to change their mind. Even these hard criminals, and he's going to say that we don't want to commit crime anymore because, as a criminal, I was so scared of my life being taken. The biggest problem we have with that argument is that a criminal knows the nature of what they're doing. If you are a murderer, you know what is the effect of killing someone. So you're not going to all of a sudden go like, oh, now somebody can kill me. Closing.
Did we have any nuclear wars since World War II?
The reason why we stopped with nuclear war was the mass scale of the destruction. Now, we killed another people. The difference between nuclear war and murdering people is nuclear war. If you currently use a nuclear war method, you have repercussions. You're being held accountable. The argument of closing government is irrelevant because for this one day you can do whatever you want and not being held accountable. There's a difference of accountability in that argument. Okay, so what we brought you as closing government was 3 points. And the 3 questions we need to ask ourselves is, first of all, the consequences of this day. Is it once-off or is it continuous? Second question we need to ask ourselves is a responsible thinking. Is this day causing people to act irresponsibly? And the third question we need to ask is, what is the nature of this argument or this action committed in this day opening anything?
Yeah. So if we're arguing that you can change a criminal in a day, you're arguing that you can't change a criminal in a day, you have to provide us with some sort of analysis as to why it is that our policy isn't as effective as your non-policy.
Well, why this policy isn't effective is a simple reason. If we, for one day, allow you to do anything you want, we have this large scale, all out there, of do what you want, so we have no control over what's happening. If we still have our current system of law implemented, we can at least keep a person responsible. The amount of action taken in this day compared to the amount of action taken when we have law implemented, is not comparable. When we have law implemented, we have a controlled manner of dealing with it. If we for one day allow you to do whatever you want, you can't be prosecuted for it. We have an increase in that one day that is the consequences thereof reaching further out, going on to our argumentation. So the first question we need to ask ourselves, no. The first question we need to ask ourselves, is the consequences of this day limited to this one day and we have 364 days of peace or happiness afterwards? Or is this far-reaching? We go back to the example, if someone is being raped, is it only one day? Or do they have to live with that consequence of being raped for the rest of their lives? And this is what government was arrogant to ignore. Is that, oh, it's one day, you can do for one day whatever you want. No. And you can for one day do whatever you want, and the rest of that time...
Be brave.
No, sit down. So for the rest of the time, you can do whatever you want, and you have no repercussions. The consequences of this day goes on. The problem we have with consequences not being limited to one day is that you don't have to accept responsibility for it. So you do what you want, and the person that's affected by it has to live with the rest of their life with this consequence. No. Second question we need to ask is responsible thinking. And what will the implementation of this Purge Day cause? Must we appreciate you that the reason why we currently have not everybody going out and killing, raping, stealing, or whatsoever is the simple reason that authority causes you to think responsible. So I'm not going to murder someone as a normal citizen, excluding criminals, because both, their policy can't address criminals. So let's focus on an individual that's under our system, responsible thinking. No. This person, for the simple reason, authority is thinking, I'm not going to commit this crime, I'm not going to murder someone because there's authority, there's prosecution that could be held against me. In this one day, we're removing responsible thinking. Because all of a sudden, you have no repercussions. You don't have to face any responsibility for your action. So we're removing responsible thinking out of the equation, and that's the biggest problem we have. The last question we need to ask ourselves is this action or the nature of this action within this day. As closing government, our biggest problem with the policy of opening government as well as closing government is that the action within this day isn't what they are showing us it to be a one-day action. It's an irreversible action. That's the biggest problem we have with allowing this. First of all, we show you that responsible thinking is being taken out of the equation. Actions are being done because I can do it for one day. The biggest problem we have with that is that even though you regret and you learn out of it. Let's say, for example, you kill someone and you learn out of it. The fact that you killed someone is irreversible. The consequences thereof is irreversible. So even though it's one day of implementation, the consequences and then us having to deal with that one day is a continuous process. As closing government, we brought you the fundamental argument that what government brought to us, first of all, isn't going to succeed in being an example to decrease crime. For a simple reason, we heard it from closing themselves, that a criminal isn't born overnight. For the same matter, we can't change a criminal by implementing one day. And first of all, the second thing is, it's 7:30.
You're so weird in this debate.